This episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Blue Apron. Not all ingredients are created equal. Fresh, high-quality ingredients make a real difference. So it's important to know where your food comes from. Now, here's the deal. Greg's obsessed with his Blue Apron stuff. He got a little buffalo chicken sandwich. He got some kind of meatball polenta, and he is all about it. For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Blue Apron knows that when you cook with incredible ingredients, you make incredible meals, so they set the highest quality standards for their community of artisanal, I don't know how to say that word, suppliers, family-run farms, fisheries, and ranchers. Whether it's Japanese ramen noodles, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, or heirloom tomatoes, Blue Apron's bringing you the best. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/funny. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/funny. Blue Apron. Better way to cook. What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 89 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller.
Hello. 89, of course, because 1989
Yes,
is
when I was born.
Ghostbusters 2 came out.
That happened too.
You remember that? You go to the theaters
Don't
as a little
remember.
baby?
Nope.
A little bundle of joy?
Nope. Trying to... No.
Your mom's like, you're just like baby Oscar. And then she started calling you Oscar. Do you remember
Didn't
baby
happen.
Oscar?
None
Do you
of this
remember
is true.
Janosch?
This show is very special because we're joined by a very special guest, somebody that we are all very, very thankful for and owe a lot to. One, Per Schneider.
Oh, hey.
Founder of IGN,
Thank you.
all-around amazing guy. This is going to be a fantastic episode. I'm super happy. Per, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I thought somebody else was coming from your description. I didn't know that was me.
Well, we all owe you a great deal, so.
Oh, thank you. I owe you guys
No, that's the
No.
a greater deal.
No.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good. I mean, it's you guys know from the old games media days when it's Q4, suddenly there's this giant mountain of games and everybody in the office loses their mind and they have to review them all. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Oh, no, we know it right now.
Yeah, I remember. I still wake up in cold sweats in November.
There you go. So that's happening now, especially when you got like PSVR coming out with its own stack of games on top of that. So that's going to be a lot of fun for everybody.
You should just transition to what we do. Where we're like, oh, we don't care about those games.
Yeah,
We'll play this game for 30 minutes and make a video about it, act like we know what we're talking about. Just tell them that we only played 30 minutes. People will know or care. Who cares?
Yeah, no, that's great. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Every week we get together to talk about video games and all the things we love about them. You can get it early on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, or you can get it late on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames if that's your thing. I hope it's not, but if it is, you do you. It's cool. I'll be proud of you too. So, topic 1 of the day, I want to talk about PlayStation VR. It is here. We have had it. We've used it extensively. You guys, did your review over on PS I Love You? XO.
Thank you for getting the whole title in there. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I wait for it.
You got it.
You got it.
You should go check that out. You guys talked for a long time about it. I was listening.
Maybe too long.
No, it's
No,
not.
as long as it needed.
I was into
It's an hour and a half long episode. What? Probably 50, 60 minutes of it's talking about PlayStation VR. 5 of it's a phone call with my father about my sick uncle. It's great. It's a Dynamite show.
Classic Greg. So, Per, how much have you got to use PlayStation VR?
I've tried it. I've tried it a couple of times. We've got it in the office as well, but people are hogging it. But I went to Sony a couple months ago and tried a couple of demos on it early at E3, of course. So I've tried it. It's cool.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered the whole bundle and I'm going to get it day one and I'm really excited for it.
What game are you most excited to try out?
Honestly, like sitting in the cockpit of an X-Wing is what I always wanted to do, so I'm dying to play that. Drive Club, I think anything where you're in a cockpit and you're stationary and you can look around, I think those games will work the best. But then Job Simulator, I've played that on the other platforms, right? Like that's really fun. Looking forward to playing that more too.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, I got to play it a lot this weekend. I got to take your unit home and mess around with everything.
You can mess around with my unit anytime.
Oh yes, definitely. And I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on the whole experience. I definitely like it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
That's interesting because because with Colin and I, there's always been like the a barometer, right? It's always been Colin who's super into it, me into it, and then you who are like, meh.
Yeah, I was kind of like whatever. And again, it's not like I was that far off on what I thought. It is still fairly what you would expect it to be, which is it is gimmicky, but that's it. It nails the gimmick, which then makes it transcend gimmick. Then it just becomes kind of the standard of how things should be. But I think that this is they know that this isn't just the future of video games. This is a future of video games. That this is like traditional video games will still be played the way they are. I appreciate that these are experiences that are geared towards that, and the games that kind of try to mesh it together are the ones that I think fail the most. But it is the ones that really do just go full in and make sure that there's something happening all around you, not just in the 180 that succeed the most. I was most looking forward to Until Dawn: Rush of Blood, and that is. Well, because I've always been a fan of light gun games, and I also really like the aesthetic of Until Dawn and the horror stuff. I was telling Colin in our Let's Play that we did, and all week long we were doing Let's Plays of the PSVR games. So I guess by the time this goes live, you would have seen them all. They're all available. YouTube.com/kindoffunny.
Go watch the damn Let's Plays.
But I was telling him that like there's this game Carnival that I used to really like back in arcades that I used to play at Roundtable a lot. And it was just like this a carnival that got taken over by evil spirits and stuff. So you're kind of just going through. It's very Batman Joker-esque, like just scary shit going on and whatever. So Until Dawn: Rush of Blood, I'm like, oh, this is like the spiritual successor of that in a lot of ways. But it being in VR, man, like I feel like that game is not going to get enough praise for how successful it is at being a game and being an experience. Because you're in the cockpit, because you're on rails going, it feels right. You don't have to deal with the locomotion and all that stuff. But because you're on the roller coaster, you still get those like weird stomach sensations and stuff that I think VR. I heard you earlier talking about how VR like really tricks your brain. Yeah, and it does. It's like it's so crazy that I could be sitting right there with Colin where he is, and he's next to me, but I would not know he is. Like, it doesn't feel like it. I feel like I'm in a total other world.
Has it tricked your brain? I mean, obviously you get the sensation of like, whoa, I'm on a roller coaster. Has it tricked your sense of smell yet? Because I played the Getaway demo?
London Heist.
London Heist.
Yeah, London Heist. I played that very early on, and there's a dude standing in the room, and you've got this, first of all, you got this weird feeling that he's really there. Like how you can feel it on your skin sometimes when somebody's in the room. It was really eerie. And then he has a cigarette, and like I swear for a moment, I'm like, I'm smelling smoke. Because you're so used to when you're seeing smoke that you're smelling it, and in this game I was like, wow, something weird's going on. It was really trippy.
Yeah, I haven't had the smell, but I agree with you that so besides Until
I'm
Dawn,
just crazy.
Anybody smell burning toast right now?
besides Until Dawn, I think that the London Heist is my favorite thing, and I think as an experience, it's the most thrilling. That I've had so far, where you start and you're in an interrogation room, and it's more than just the demo we've done. It goes from interrogation, then you're driving, doing the actual heist. So you're in this room, and then like people are coming in, you're heisting a diamond, and there's a whole shootout scene, and then you go back to the interrogation, then you do the driving scene. There's another interrogation, and then there's more shit after that that I don't want to spoil. But it's super fun and keeps you going, and I feel like it does a good job of here's the interrogation experience where this guy is in your face, and it's intense.
Creepy, right?
Like it makes you want to like kind of move out of the way, and then it switches to gameplay. You're driving, you're shooting. It's more of a light gun type game, and I love it. Like it just takes me back to the mid '90s, going to arcades and wanting to play the games that needed 4 quarters instead of 1 quarter because you get to use some stupid peripheral,
like rumble seats, Jurassic Park, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Using the cool like the pump shotgun guns, or like the silent scope, or any of the real premium car games. Yeah. And I think that VR is going to allow us to do all that stuff. The problem is those experiences don't last. It's like you only want to do those for so long. And it's like Until Dawn has 6 levels, I think. And I think that's perfect. It's like that's the perfect amount. I don't need more of this. But that's why I think that the VR Worlds and Until Dawn are my 2 games. And I'm like, man, definitely check them out. VR Worlds, it's confusing. We all thought, me and Greg were stuck for like an hour trying to figure out what's the difference between the PlayStation demo disc and VR Worlds. VR Worlds is made by the Sony London, and it's fantastic. It's 5 different experiences. One is Danger Ball, which is essentially the games from Tron Legacy, where it's like they're in the big thing with this arena around them. But it's Pong, but you use your head and you have to move. Then it has London Heist, which is fantastic, and it has The Descent, which is the shark experience.
Yeah, you go down the Shark Tank.
But there's multiple chapters too, so it's not just the demo we saw over and over.
Eventually, you are the shark.
Oh my god.
You're the
And
human
then,
tank.
what else is there in that one? Then there's this other game called, I'm totally blanking now, but it's like Survive Outlast or something like that.
Okay.
And it's the mech one.
Oh,
where
right. You really like that one.
Yeah.
You showed it in the Let's Play where you get in it and you jump around. You were telling me this is a full-fledged game. This isn't just an experience. I'm jumping around. I'm doing this. I'm running this. But you're attacking people and going on.
Yeah, it's so you're in a mech, very similar to the mech from Aliens, and you use a DualShock 4, and you kind of go, and it's the trigger. You can see your hands in the game, and he's holding two. What do they call it?
Like levers?
Just like the in flight simulators, there's the
Flight sticks, the
kind of like
yoke.
flight sticks, but they're mech
The
flight
yoke.
sticks. So they have the two of them, so you see the hands, and it is the R1 and the L1 buttons and stuff, and then you can use them to either shoot missiles or jump. So the jump, you kind of see a targeting thing, and you look up at it, and you target, and you can jump over there. Then it becomes kind of Mario Galaxy Inception shit, where you're jumping and the gravity's flipping and all this stuff, and it's super
Which
disorienting.
sounds great in first person. No one's getting
But
sick already
but-
playing this.
but
You
it's
didn't
like-
get sick?
But I got really sick
right.
from the whole thing. But from this one, it's because you're looking and you are targeting it and you know that you're gonna flip. You kind of expect it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Until Dawn, where like when it's the roller coaster, you know you're gonna get that sensation. So it feels a little bit better than the first person, like kind of frantic, looking left to right experience. But my biggest issue with VR is, man, I didn't think I was gonna get motion sickness from it, and after an hour of playing, which I think is more than people should be playing this at a time, I was just like, ooh, I don't feel good. To the point that after 2 days of using it back to back, I was like, if I have to play it the next day, I'm not going to do it. Like, I don't want to. I just don't want.
Do you think you'll get used to it though? Because I remember
Yes.
when I got my first PC, I played Descent. Remember that game where you can fly into any direction, and it was running super smoothly, and I was like, whoa, like I couldn't handle it. But now I have no problem with that type of game. Like, a first-person shooter is running at 60 frames per second, I have no problem. So I wonder if we will get used to it, or,
I think you will. I mean, that's what we keep talking about. Is like this is the game. We've never played games this way, so you have to relearn how to play everything. That because like the games that have made me sick were anytime there's an elevator in the very beginning when I would play games. That's when because my body knows how an elevator is supposed to feel, and when the elevator would stop, my body would keep going because there was no gravity on it. It felt really weird, but I've started to get over that now because there's an elevator in every one of these games. But like. Another game I've been playing in VR that is still embargoed. I was playing it and you're wandering around in first person or whatever, and it was when you switch the controls over to be in control of yourself, where it wasn't like you're not jumping around like Batman Arkham VR, where you're actually moving yourself place to place, walking around. That the first 5 minutes of that were like, whoa, like okay, I feel drunk, and then it was like gradually getting used to how fast I can turn my head, and then being a little bit more comfortable and going. And I wasn't an expert at it by the end of it, but I feel like I'm getting better.
yeah, it's that brain trickery, right? Like your brain says, nope, I'm not moving, and therefore something is wrong. Like the Alien demo I played at E3 and like Doom, for example, on the other headsets, like the same thing. Like you walk around and your body's like, ooh, no, you're not moving.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like it's the looking part feels really natural, or like driving in a cockpit, flying an airplane, that kind of stuff.
I think that the big thing with VR that people have to understand, and I think everyone inherently does understand this, is that it's so convincing to the brain that it's going to require a learning curve for your brain, and I don't know that doing it over and over again is going to make your brain get used to it. I think that I hope that's the case, but I also think that some people are just not going to be able to do it at all. Yeah. And I think a lot of people will, and they'll do it in limited ways, because what I found was that I'm very positive about PSVR. I think it's fantastic. It's a first step in a very good direction, I think. But it's taxing on your brain. Because I was even playing, as I was saying, Job Simulator, which I think is a really great game. It's probably my favorite game that I've played on VR. And it's just a game where you stand still and you're doing funny things. It's a very comical kind of game. But after playing all 4 of those modes in the game, and I took it off, and I'm like, I literally had to go take a nap. I'm like, because my brain's all fucked up. My brain's like, what is going on? And then I was saying later, when I went to a store, I went to grab something off a shelf and almost was like, I was in the game almost. And I was like, this is like, it's getting
You had
little
glowing bubbles for hands.
Yeah, but I almost want to. You know how you like when you grab something in the game, you like kind of like arch it over and then press the trigger and like bring it back, whatever. I almost kind of like went to grab something like that. And I'm like, why am I doing that? Like I'm in the real world. So I think my takeaway with PSVR is this: and I feel the same way about Oculus and Vive in the limited times that I've played those as well, is that people, I think, have unrealistic expectations of what these things are going to provide out of the gate. And I encourage people to think about this as a rebooting of video games. Now, this is going to be a supplemental thing that sits alongside the traditional way we play games. But people are like, where is my 10-hour experience? Where I'm like, guys, when Tennis for Two came out in 1959 on an oscilloscope, it was the most rudimentary thing you would ever seen in your life. And then 15 years later, we got Pong, which was basically the same idea on a screen. It looked a little prettier. And then we got static screen arcade games and all those kinds of things. And fast forward to the early 80s, you started getting games that moved the screen, right? And then you started getting side scrollers, and then we got Mario and all these kinds of things. I'm like, be patient. Like what we're getting out of these experiences is so far ahead of what we were getting on Coleco and Atari 2600 and all, and in the arcades in the late 70s and early 80s. And so I really feel like people need to just be a little more patient with the expectations of what they're getting. Should this thing take off, and I really hope it does because I think it's really great technology, I can't imagine in 5 years or 10 years on new headsets that are even more powerful, the resolution's better, it's more immersive. This is an exciting new way to play. And I know people like to use the word gimmick, and at its definition, it is a gimmick. But what I've been saying is it's not a hard G, capital G, proper noun gimmick. Like I would say like Wii or Move or Kinectware. This is a really dynamic new way to play games in a way we've literally never gotten a chance to play them like this before. And I am tired of this stagnation in games. It doesn't mean I'm not excited to play my next third-person open-world game. I like my role-playing games. I like my side-scrollers. That's great. I'm always going to play those until the day I die. This thing is finally going to sit aside those and give us a new way to experience games. It's not going to replace or supplant. It's going to supplement what we already have. And I think there's a really huge reason to be excited about this. It's expensive to get in any of the three devices. PS4 is probably the most reasonable with PSVR. But if you're willing to make that investment, and you don't have to make that investment, I don't care if you make that investment. It's up to you. I'm just saying that this technology is convincing. Like this is really, I'm super. Everyone knows me. Like I'm very skeptical about things, and I do take a more pessimistic point of view. But on this, I'm very optimistic because, as we were saying before we recorded, when I put on Oculus a few years ago and played Valkyrie for the first time, I was like, holy shit! Like I can't believe this exists, and here we are, and it's here, it's in our homes. And Oculus and obviously Vive are out there too, but I'm a console guy, and so this is what I've been waiting for. So I'm excited about it.
It's like that moment, like when I played Eve, it was like that moment in the movie Ratatouille where he eats the food and he's like, bang, he goes back to his childhood and like his knees scraped. Like I felt like seeing Star Wars for the first time, and I'm like, I want to be in that spaceship. And like just that feeling that these games in VR can evoke with very simple means. A lot of the games are very simple, right? It's very special, and that's why I feel like the comparison that some people make to it's like 3D in movies, right? Everybody was excited about Avatar, and then now everybody's annoyed with it because it darkens the screen and adds dollars to your ticket. I don't think it's the same thing. I think it's such a unique and different experience that once developers figure out that, I need to make a very, very different game that doesn't last as long, does something very different, I think it'll be really special.
Yeah, I mean, it's the what you're talking about. It's the wonderment of putting it on and letting yourself get tricked, and that's the whole thing. Where I put it on and I'm in a giant area, and I know I'm still in a small room, but I know that I'm in a giant area and what to do with that. And when I did the Batman demo at E3 for the first time, and I put on the cowl, and I'm grinning and I'm laughing the entire time. I put on the cowl, and the mirror pops up, and you're supposed to move your head. I immediately started moving my mouth.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh right, no, that doesn't work, and I know that's not how this technology works, but
eventually.
It's right there in your face. You think that's how it should work and what it should do.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, I'm very impressed with the whole thing, and I think that the launch lineup has a lot to do with that. Looking at it going in, I was like, it's just going to be like a lot of tech demos, and that kind of is exactly what it is. But all of those demos impressed me way more than I thought they would. The only game that I played that I was like, this kind of sucks is Harmonix VR.
Yeah.
And I like music games, so I kind of wanted something out of that, but that is more just like a music
Did you go through every one of them? Like the 4 levels or whatever? I went through, and every one of them was different. So that game overall was like, this is a weird hodgepodge of like, here's things we could do, but we didn't really make a game about. We're just making you these things.
And that's the thing is, I think it is just a lot of demos, but I was thoroughly impressed demo after demo with these experiences where I was like, man, this is super cool. And I think that it's the combination of a lot of gimmicks that then kind of make it worth it. So it is the Move combined with the 3D, so it's like those things by themselves were whatever, but when you add it all together, that makes the experience like, whoa. And having my friends put it on, I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things about this is putting it on people that haven't played video games in years and then just being like, what the fuck? This
Yeah.
is crazy.
And with the scary stuff, even people who are not scared by horror movies, like they put this on and you play some of the experiences, they'll freak out. Like there's this kind of like physicality to the creatures that are in the room, and you constantly worry that somebody's fucking with you, that there's someone behind you, right? So when you're wearing the headset, you're constantly like, oh, what's going on, looking around. And like I can't think of any other medium that could make horror this scary.
Yeah, it's very immersive, and that's why I'm so excited about Resident Evil 7. I like, to me, I just feel like people have to get their expectations in check right now about what this is. And then let's look at the genetic code of how gaming got to this point right now on TVs, and then reset it. And then let's just go again. And I think market forces are going to dictate this, just like with anything else, if this thing grows and proliferates. And I'm hopeful that it will. I think that their expectations have to be very low. I was saying on Colin and Greg Live today that if Sony can get 5% of PS4 owners right now, which would be 2.5 million, let's say 45 million PS4s in a while, that's 2.5 million people. If you can get them to buy in, and I think that they could, then I think you have a successful unit. And then you go forward. I also think that it is a very savvy move on Sony's part to get in a way that is proprietary very early on. There's really only 3 bigger players in the space. Because I think this pays off with their TVs. I think this pays off with their, well, not computers going to do that anymore, but like with other services. And I think that thinking about games only makes us think small. I think that I keep saying when we go to Mars with NASA or SpaceX in 20 years, wouldn't it be amazing if they just dropped a couple cameras, and they're like, put on your VR headsets and you're gonna be there with us. That's the possibility of what we're gonna be doing with this. Nonetheless, the concerts and the other experiences that we have, the virtual tourism. I think
Church,
dude. I mean, imagine if the Vatican did that, and you can go to Latin services.
See the Pope, right?
Yeah, like
Christmas Eve mass.
It's like I understand why people think this is a gimmick, and maybe to them it is, and I respect that. But I'm telling you, man, like there's something to this. Like there really is something to this. People think that I'm using it pejoratively when I say games are stagnant. In a way, maybe I am, but I don't really mean it that way. Games are stagnant. We're getting the same things over and over again, and we enjoy those things. But finally, we have a device that's going to make people think differently about how they create games, and we are not going to get the same things over and over again. We're excited about playing Farpoint or a shooter or something like that, and Valkyrie, which is a flight sim basically. But man, like there are some brilliant minds making games, and they're going to look at this device and they just have to sit and think about it for a minute, and they're going to. So let's, like you say all the time, Shuhei said this was PS1, right, for them, and let's see what PS2 looks like. And let's see what PS3 looks like. And before you know it, I think if we're just patient and we get out of the Pong and the Centipede and the Asteroids kind of era of PSVR, and we get to the River Raid, or we get to Pitfall, and then we get to Mario, and then we get to Castlevania, and then we get to Final Fantasy, and then and as a gamer, as someone who's playing games for almost 3 decades, as we all have been playing games for many decades, this is exciting. This is a truly exciting thing, and I want it to see. I want all 3 of them to succeed, and I don't want this to replace the way we play games. But I want to look at my setup one day and be like, well, I got my PS4. I got Precious Vita sitting up there.
Aww.
In this case, up on the pedestal.
And then I have, but then I have
Builders, never
PSVR,
forget.
and I'm like, I have an option to go into this world now. We use this word, we throw around this word immersion and immersive, and I will say again that I don't think games can truly be immersive on a television screen. I think that we can immerse ourselves as best we can, but the phone's still ringing, the person's talking to you behind you, the sun is shining in from the real world through your window. That is inherently not immersive. Right?
Yeah.
This is.
And there are true limitations in games right now where I feel like what we think, games like Uncharted or Forza, all these games that we love to play now, what we're accustomed to, we kind of know what comes next, right? Better visuals, there'll be some clever sequences, but you also see the kind of the band-aids in there. And like, I'm playing Forza right now, and when I am driving on a course, I have a hard time seeing where the course is going. Cross country, all right, I need the little lines that tell me where the course is going. When I'm turning into a curve, what I do naturally in life when I'm driving, like I look to the side, I can't do without using the right stick, which in Forza makes all sorts of crazy shit happen, right? Like it's way too touchy. With VR, suddenly in a racing game, you are freed from that limitation that all these racing game developers had to deal with. I guarantee you, they are like companies like Naughty Dog, when they make an Uncharted, they're like, man, wouldn't it be nice if you could intuitively do this? Or like, if you remember Metroid Prime and you had to like do first person stuff like open doors, like you didn't get a sense for the space because you're looking at a flat screen. With the VR goggles and everything, I think lots of stuff will change and we'll see new genres develop too.
Yeah, I think the one major hiccup, there are major hiccups. I think that the thing, is still finicky. The resolution's not great. There's a lot of wires. Like, it's very early times, right? Like it's a cacophony of nightmares with the wires. But the one major thing that I think needs to be overcome, and I don't know how they're going to do it in an effective way, is locomotion. And I know that there's a lot of different people that are trying to, I see weird things at GDC every year where you're like walking on this moving platform and all this kind of stuff. That's not going to be the solution. It's got to be eye tracking or something, like something different that, like, I remember a couple years ago at GDC we played Infamous Second Son, or no, it was Infamous 2, I think, on PS3, using only your eyes.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was just an experimental thing where it's like, look in that direction, he'll walk in that direction. And it worked. It totally worked. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And I think that they were experimenting with that in a secret way for PSVR and all that kind of stuff. And I think, so the locomotion issue is going to have to be taken care of, and you're seeing people taking care of it in different ways, whether it's Job Simulator, in which there is no locomotion, whether it's in Batman, where you're using a button and pointing and going to that place, whether you're using a dual analog stick. But I think we have to get away from the conventional controller ultimately in order for this to work.
For sure.
And reprogram, as I've been saying, your eyes are now going to be the left stick, or the right stick rather. The left stick is the problem. And once they solve that, we're golden. And I really do believe that they're going to solve it, and it's probably going to be some weird eye tracking shit that they're going to do.
Or cable in the neck.
Or plug you right in.
Yeah, man. It's fantastic. I definitely, if you guys are interested at all, I highly recommend finding some way to at least try it out. And I think that, if you have the means, I think it's worth getting it just to spread it and show other people so that they can understand where this is headed, because it's a very, very, very special device. And like, I had a lot of fun with it despite all its shortcomings, which to me, it's like, it's very taxing on you physically, whether it's the motion sickness or you're saying the tiredness, but also just the heat. Like it's having that on your head. I'm just like, man, it was an experience. Like it felt like a workout afterwards. But
and like, these are the Kylek, the Blood, and Toshinden games, right? Like, these are the early experiments with 3D space, like back in the days. We're going to get better stuff than this. So
yeah, no,
pretty
it's
exciting.
very, very, very exciting.